In the state of finally feeling contentment, in a state of bliss, this being asks me, what do you want? As if I had accidentally rubbed a bottle, a genie, and he came out and was able to grant me whatever I wished. I stayed for a moment in this contentment and then finally asked, what are we? I saw light come out of the ground and fill every body in the arena and recognize that we are love and light and that they are the same thing. The being then said that love and then learning in that order are the two most important values in life. And if I can hold these two in that composition, I will never have to worry about the complexity of all my decisions moving forward.
Psychedelics are said to shift our fixed perspectives, giving us a bird's eye view of our own lives and helping to remove the lenses of cultural, religious, and social conditioning through which we are taught to see the world. They are being used therapeutically and somatically to treat depression, addiction, PTSD, and trauma, and many are using them to explore the ineffable, those unknown realms of consciousness and beyond. Join us in Adventures of the Psyche as we learn how psychedelics have transformed people's lives. Welcome, friends, to Adventures of the Psyche. In this episode, we are joined by Jahan Khamsehzadeh, who shares how a large dose of mushrooms at a Tool concert opened him up to a mystical experience that changed the course of his life. Jahan Khamsehzadeh, Ph.D., completed his dissertation on psychedelics at the California Institute of Integral Studies, CIIS, in San Francisco, and has graduated from the Hakomi somatic-psychotherapy program and trained with the Mazatec mushroom tradition. He mentors at the newly emerging Center for Consciousness Medicine and works as a facilitator for legal psilocybin mushroom ceremonies in Jamaica with Atman Retreats, while also leading a monthly group called Developing a Relationship with Sacred Mushrooms with the San Francisco Psychedelic Society. His book, The Psilocybin Connection, Psychedelics, the Transformation of Consciousness and Evolution of this Planet, an Integrated Approach, is being published and coming out April 5th, 2022.
I was 18 years old, suicidal, depressed, and an atheist. I had been suffering for the last several years, and it was still the darkest moments of my life. For hours a day, for about 9 months, I was just walking, contemplating our existence. Why do I exist? What's the point of humanity? How did we get here? Where are we going? In the depths of despair, there was quite an existential crisis. I was wondering a lot about time and space and our identity, caught up in a tremendous heartache of trying to rationalize why to stick around and how to make it less painful. That year, soon after graduating high school, I went to go see my favorite band, Tool, play for the first time. And on the way there, somebody I just met that day gave me some psilocybin mushrooms. And I was excited. Finally, there's a spark of light. After a long time, this is my favorite band on mushrooms. I thought it was going to be the best day of the year. I remember saying that out loud. Little did I know it's going to be the most transformative experience of my life. Once we got to the arena, I took the mushrooms, and this mushroom slowly started to come on, and their effects were so different to what I'd experienced before, because I had about 9 months now of accumulating and processing and digesting all this deep information, wondering about myself and the structure and process of the universe. As they began to come on, I slowly began to feel the effects of what it was like to be eternal, and I got really excited and decided I wanted to rush the stage. And there was a barrier. It was a sold out arena. I couldn't afford a general admission at the time. And so I ran towards a security guard and said, my favorite band is about to take the stage. Can I please get in there? And I think he just felt the sincerity of it. And he said, sure, I'm going to turn away for a moment, run into the crowd, and don't look back. He gave me the window. I jumped over the railing and ran with a deep gratitude for this human, not knowing the effect that this next few moments was going to have on me. As soon as I got to the front, my awareness continued to shift. I began to feel what it was like to be eternal. This was a sensation in my body and my skin. The feeling was as if I had existed before the Big Bang or continue to exist after death. With this sensation became quite a feeling of bliss. There's a deep sense of security that I will never die, that had always existed. and that this knowledge and this awareness was always underneath my awareness. I was just not sensitive enough to feel it. As Tool came on the stage and my consciousness continued to expand, it seems I was rapidly approaching this threshold of death. I felt I was about to die. I felt if I continued the process, I would cease to exist. And I thought about my parents, my sister, and leaving them and how sad they would feel. For 15 minutes, I stayed in this state, too curious to turn back, but too fearful to move forward. Finally, my curiosity got the best of me, and I let myself unfold. What happened next was beyond my wildest dreams. My consciousness expanded as my head became the entire sold-out auditorium. A thought arose in my consciousness, another voice, familiar but not of my own, and it said, Jahan. I said, is this true? The voice said, yes. I began to cry, gush a river of tears. I felt as if every wall around my heart broke down. I had never felt this level of soft openness and intimately connected with myself. I recognized at the time that it was God, something I did not believe was real. I felt that there had always been a witness behind my consciousness and a listener behind my ears, except that this being was everywhere. It was a singular united consciousness that united the entire cosmos. In the state of finally feeling contentment, in the state of bliss, this being asks me, what do you want? As if I had accidentally rubbed a bottle, a genie, and he came out and was able to grant me whatever I wished. I stayed for a moment in this contentment and then finally asked, what are we? I saw light come out of the ground and fill every body in the arena and recognize that we are love and light and that they are the same thing. The being then said that love and then learning in that order are the two most important values in life. And if I can hold these two in that composition, I will never have to worry about the complexity of all my decisions moving forward. In that moment, I recognized that all the pain I had experienced was leading me to this moment. All the suffering was building wisdom and learning and churning to create the breakthrough at this threshold at the moment. And this enabled me to have some peace with my past. When I came and recognized that we were love and light, as the being had said, I saw that we are in fact heaven, that this is God's palace, that anything is possible in this reality. What's holding back us collectively is our perception, believing that we're fragmented, dissociated individuals, and this each for his own kind of world. But when we come to finally recognize our unity, we will treat each other in the world as so. My response to this actually was anger, because I thought we were living in hell this entire time. And there was a deep pain that came, but I realized that other people didn't have this awareness that I just now had. And I was able to come to peace with my past and finally move forward, looking forward towards the future. And in all these moments of collective distress, this experience has been my greatest resource, finally knowing where our collective evolution is moving towards. I thought about this experience every day for the next 7 years. I'm still in the process of integration now, 20 years later. Since then, I've threw myself into a variety of fields of studies. I was majoring in neuroscience for a while, then physics and mathematics, ended up getting a master's in consciousness, and then doctor of philosophy, cosmology, consciousness, and writing my dissertation on psilocybin mushrooms to study the history and the effects it has on humanity. What I found is that the experience I had is quite universal cross-culturally. I currently lead psilocybin mushrooms ceremonies in Jamaica, where I am now, and see regularly that people have this experience of the unity, that people's lives can change drastically overnight. The same findings are found in what's known as the perennial philosophy put forward by Stan Grof, who did a lot of psychedelic research, and Ken Wilber, a transpersonal psychologist. And after reviewing the wisdom fields of the world, including the great religious traditions, that there are universal truths that we have all found when people go into deep states of consciousness, whether through meditation or psychedelics, primarily that there's a unity in our being, that we are love, and that we're deep interconnection between all of us. And it seems to be that this is the prime message that psychedelics like psilocybin gives us. Now you can see how this information that I had gained, that specifically of love and then learning, ties into this deep structure of our reality, that love pulls us towards a unity, whether it's through ourselves, each other, the planet, and cosmos. And learning is coming to with our mind to more intimately understand and come into a relationship with that structure. That learning itself is an expression of love, of adaptability, and of growth, and of expansion of our consciousness to really understand this oneness.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jahan. Wow. You wrote a book about it, right? Well, tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah, the book's The Psilocybin Connection, Psychedelics or Transformation of Consciousness and the Evolution of Life on the Planet. I was really taken by this idea by Terrence and Dennis McKenna, which read the book Food of Gods at age 19, that our evolution was catapulted with the relationship of the psilocybin mushroom. After 20 years of academia, with the focus of evolution, whether it's biological, cultural, or of consciousness, I've not come to a better idea of how we evolved. So I went through all the archaeological evidence, the neuroscience, the groundwork, phenomenological experience to really show and lay out how this is the best explanation we have for the emergence of humanity. And if this is true, what does it mean for our species? And could it perhaps develop a deeper relationship between us and psilocybin mushrooms and catapult these kind of healing experiences that myself and others around me had been experiencing?
Amazing. I've totally had some of those experiences myself, and they've been the most profound. And for me, it's always been like, okay, we are all love, we are all connected, and our purpose here is to learn, to expand, and to grow, right? To experience all the flavors of the rainbow. And when you look through life through the lens of how is this here to help me grow? Everything works. So suddenly all the things that have been super painful for me, I'm like, oh, but this is here for me to grow. Suddenly I'm like, oh, through that lens, I can do it. I can get through it, because I realize on the other side, there's going to be a bigger expanded version of me who has shown myself that I'm strong enough and capable of handling that difficult experience. And then with that becomes a more of an opening ability to experience life. So curious how that's reflected for you in your life.
Totally. Probably one of the biggest things I learned from psychedelics is that we are love. That is our truest and deepest identity. And if we are love, and so is everything else, it's always trying to help us, whether through synchronicities and intuition, bodily sensations, other relationships, and so on. The universe is trying to downpour knowledge in us as quick and fast as possible. It's only our ability to receive and take it in. So if we're constantly fearful and pushing away the world, we're actually pushing away our experiences, the fuel for our growth. And so much of the growth as you're moving towards, I believe at the crux, is a shift in identity from a smaller, wounded, isolated self to something much larger that is beyond my body. Perhaps, I am humanity. I am the planet itself. I am the universe. I am God to some extent, and so are we, but I am love.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for telling your story, John. So appreciate it.
So honored. Thank you.